Alright, so welcome to another episode of Evan's Beekeeping, and today we're just doing an update on one of my other locations that is a little bit more advanced comparing to the other locations that I have. So this location is located more in the hills, so as such I expect that the season would pretty much begin a little earlier for this location in comparison to the other locations. Today what we're going to be doing, we're going to be going through the boxes and we're going to be checking the population and also ensure that they're utilizing the frames that we have introduced down into the brood chamber, so they will draw that out and then potentially start putting nectar in it. As that progresses throughout the season and the population increase, then we're gonna start the queen rearing portion of the season, as this is normally the best time when all the resources are popping at that point and everything is available to the bees. Then we use that time to raise new queens, replacing some of the older queens and preparing for the next season, which would be 2023, to get the right genetics that we need in our apiary. So let's get the episode started. Alright, so we're gonna go down into the first box and you will find that most of the frames in this box has a lot of nectar on it. And the reason for that is because when we started introducing the medium, we had to move the full frames from the other deeps. So that's why for this box you're gonna find nectar in this one, but unfortunately we're not really focusing on this one at the moment. We're trying to get down into the medium. It's heavy. So what we ended up doing, we took frame number 9 and frame number 2 from out as a full frame, put it into the top box, and then we introduced the medium frames for the bees to draw out. So these are the frames that we're potentially just checking on today. We want to ensure that the bees are drying them out and storing nectar. Right, and as you can see guys, that is exactly what they're doing. So this is drawn out, majority of this is nectar, and there's this little section of brood. So for this frame is good to move now into the shallow box, and we're going to introduce another one for them to do the same thing. So we're going to take one from the medium box and we're going to add it to it. So the reason why we're doing this guys is that most of the frames that I use, they are strips. So the bees will not move up into the medium box immediately and work and draw this down. So this is why I'm introducing this in a section where there's already drawn out frames, and they will just draw it down a lot more quicker. So we're gonna do the same for this part. Alright, so this one is a deep, and as you can see, all the way up until frame number 8, there is brood and active pollen. And frame number 10 is what was introduced. And we have the same thing here happening again guys. So majority of this is nectar. And that we're gonna move this one out and we're gonna introduce another frame for them to continue to draw out. So what is eventually going to happen after about 2 rounds of this, majority of the bees will continue to work the frames at the top, and then we'll have that as a full super to extract. And for this one I'll just be introducing a fully drawn out frame so they can backfill it a lot faster. So we'll put this back on top of the box, and this is all that we're doing. So what I did was checkered here. So the 2 frames that I moved, that I put here, and I put a blank here and a blank here and a blank here. So when the bees eventually start working this section, you will realize that they will start working on these empty frames as well. So this is what we're going to be doing until we're able to get enough drawn out frames so they'll move up to the top and start working. Then we will shake them down and introduce the queen excluder so they'll only keep honey in this section. That's it for this box. So we will check back on this in another week or two. And then we're gonna move on to box number 3. So for box number 2, it's a little different. The bees have already started storing nectar here. And as you can see, they've already started drying out this frame as well. So this box is a little bit more advanced compared to that other one there. Same good in population, but some bees will work a lot faster. That's why you have to constantly monitor. So we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna move this one out. And we're gonna check on the frames that were introduced down in this to see how far they have progressed. Alright, and this one is good. So this is why it is important for you to constantly check, because of how the nectar source coming in. If you don't monitor them, they'll get ahead of you. So this one, I only checked this a week ago. This was not here. So have to keep on top of the bees, guys. So for this one, I'll just cut off the excess. Then this that is filled with nectar will be moved up to the top. And it's gonna be checkered. Then we're gonna take an empty, we're gonna replace it down here. And we're gonna check over this side. Same thing for this one, it's fully drawn out and they've begun storing nectar. There is also brood in this one, but we're still gonna move it up because we want them to draw out more of the foundation. So again, moving up to the top, checkering. This blank will introduce it back into the brood chamber. And again, guys, very important that we're not putting this into the brood section itself. We're only introducing at either frame 9 or 10 or frame 1 or 2, as these are the sections that the bees commonly use to store nectar and pollen. Close this one up. And I'll be going through the remainder of the box doing the same thing. I'm going to show you one that is more advanced than most of these boxes. Alright guys, so essentially what we're going to be looking at for this one, we're going to be looking at another one that is a little bit more advanced um, in terms of hive population and essentially what we've been doing today. So the population of bees is enough to fill the boxes, but I had to give them the second box just to give them enough space. So as you can see, guys, they've pretty much utilized everything down here. You can pull from as far as the end, and you can see that they've already started drying it down and storing nectar. And it's the same as you progress through the box. In further stages, they've come up and started storing nectar. Look at that. So because this one is a lot further, then they definitely need a second box. So what we're going to be doing essentially is the same thing. We're going to move frames from out of this one and we're going to put up into this one, so they'll utilize both chambers. Alright, so we're just moving out the frames. Alright, so this is where we are with this box. So they've pretty much already started using up about 90% of the second frame. For this one, we just introduce one from out of the brood chamber up into the top. So as they finish up that box, they're gonna move up to this one. And I'm thinking probably about in 2 weeks time or 3 weeks time, both boxes will probably be filled fully and ready to be extracted. So at the moment, we just have to give the bees the space as they need it, because during this time, if we're not careful, then we might end up getting swarms. So we just have to monitor this hive closely as they utilize it. So because of that and how fast the bees are progressing, inspections has been moved up to more of a weekly basis rather than a 2 weekly basis, because of how fast the bees are progressing. And that's pretty much all that we have for today. So we're just going through the boxes, we're checking and ensuring that they're working the space properly, they have enough space. And for those, as we go through the season to manage the population, we're going to start doing our queen rearing season soon. So stay tuned for that. Thanks for watching.